Hi, we're going to do an exercise for the upper back today. This is known as the thoracic spine, and it's the part of your spine that's associated with the rib cage. Now, one of the exercises that we're going to do is extension of the thoracic spine, which is back bending, and the other is flexion of the thoracic spine, which is forward bending. Now, people tend to value the extension portion of this exercise primarily because of concerns they have about hyperkyphosis, which is the excessive curvature of the upper back forward, associated with aging, but in fact anyone at any age can have a hyperkyphosis. And then forward head posture, text neck, anything where the weight of the head is dragging the spine forward. So they see the extension portion as corrective, and it is, but the flexion part is just as important, if not more important in my opinion, because we can really mobilize the thoracic spine well in flexion. When we're in a back bend, our spine is going to be on the chair, it's compressed, and really we can only expand the sides and fronts of our rib cage. Whereas in flexion, we can expand the sides back and the spine and the shoulder blades of the thoracic spine. So it's a really important part. If you can't do the extension part, if it's too much for you right now, do the flexion part and you can work on the extension in another time. So we're going to need a little bit of equipment for today's exercises. One thing is a blanket. I've got a yoga blanket here that I have folded in a long rectangle, and I'm going to drape that over the back of a chair. I'm using a folding chair, so it has a fairly low back. We don't want anything with a really high back. And the other thing is a yoga bolster. So if you don't have a yoga bolster, you can substitute cushions from your sofa. Okay, so let's start. I'm going to take the yoga bolster and place it right in the back of the chair. And then I'm going to take the part of the blanket that's draped over the back and fold it up and over the back of the chair one more time. So I have a nice thick cushion here for my spine. And then I'm going to go ahead and have a seat on the front edge of the chair. Make sure you're secure. Take my feet about shoulder distance apart. And we'll start with the pelvis. I'm going to take the pelvis and tip it back, pressing it into the bolster, lean back. Now at this point, your lumbar spine, your lower back, should be well supported by the bolster. If you're not feeling it, then try slipping another cushion back there. I'm going to continue going back until my shoulders hit the back of the chair, and then I'll pause and just take a moment to see, does that feel like a good place for my spine to back bend from? We don't want too much of our spine projecting over the back of the chair, because then we'll just promote movement where we already have a lot, which is in the lumbar spine and bottom ribs. So I'm going to continue tucking my pelvis and keeping my lower ribs down and back bending the upper spine, which tends to be the part where we're a little stickier. So now I'll take my hands behind my head to help support my head weight, and keeping the back of my neck long and my chin low, I'm going to drop my head into back space, and the weight of the head starts to move the upper ribs away from the ones below them. So we're opening from the top down into that back space. Once you're in extension, just take a moment here. If this is uncomfortable in any way, you can come up and out of it. Just use your hands to pull your head forward. It should be quite comfortable and supportive feeling here if you get the bolstering right and if your spine is ready for this kind of movement. So I'm just going to stay here for 3 to 5 breaths and try to expand the sides and front of my rib cage. And after the last breath, 3 to 5 breaths, we're going to bring our head forward using our hands, drop our chest, and come back up to sitting. All right, now we'll move on to the flexion part. So I'm going to take this bolster, swing it around, and place it on my thighs. You can bring your legs a little closer together to support the bolster. I'm still on the front edge of the chair, and I'm going to tuck this bolster in pretty close to my hips. And this time, instead of tucking the pelvis back, I'm going to hinge it forward and pin the bottom ribs on the bolster here. Once I get my bottom ribs pinned on the bolster, I'm just going to allow the upper back to flex over, continue rounding over, and then finally let the head and neck go as well. And you can drape your arms, and we'll just take 3 to 5 breaths here. Feel that breath expanding your whole backside. All right, let's come on up to sitting. And you can swing this bolster around behind you and go through the whole sequence 2 or 3 more times. So I hope you found that helpful. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.